Hello and welcome everyone to Talent500 YouTube channel. I am Soumya, a software engineer and an educator. In this video, I'll teach you in detail about the important interview questions for Kotlin. Kotlin is indeed a very significant language when we talk especially about Android application developer role. So let's get started and deep dive into the significant concepts of Kotlin. Interview questions of Kotlin. So the very first question is, what are the various data types available in Kotlin? Explain them. This is very significant and basic question which you must know, because in Kotlin what happens, you can't directly say int, string, float. These are obviously there, but the most significant types are the 5 types. Boolean is there, character, number, string, and array is the last, that is the 5th data type available. Now talking about numbers here, numbers again has variety of types which we already know from like multiple languages. If you already know, let's say Java, C++, something like that, so you'd already be aware of int, long, double, float, short, byte. These are very common data types which we often use, right? And yes, in Kotlin the type of a variable is decided by its value. Like there is option to explicitly tell as well. For an example, if let's say you want my num, this variable, to be of type int, so you can write here something like this. This will be the syntax. So val is the keyword. You can use either val or var, and then name of the variable like this, and after that the type. Let's say you want int, or you can use any other type as well. Let's say you want it to be long, double, anything, and after that the value, whatever value you want to give. Similarly for a string, you can have variables like string will be the data type, and then in double quotes for a string you always have to use double quotes. You can see here this is of char type, and here the values are kept in single quotes, right? It is not like double quotes, only single commas you have to use, right? And this is integer, then this is of type double, and this is boolean. Boolean either true or false. These two are the values for boolean data type. Perfect. This is the way you can do it, the way I was explaining here. This is exactly what you can do. If it is of type int, you can explicitly tell it int, right? So yes, it is possible to specify the type if you want in Kotlin. Otherwise, based on the value, it can automatically pick it up. Like if you will not write this, then it will know that okay, this is char only. The variable is of type char. Okay. Alright. So the char data type is used to store a single character, and a char value must be surrounded by single quotes. Always remember like this. Perfect. And moving ahead, let's talk about these are built-in types of numbers data type in Kotlin. You don't need to kind of rote learn this, but you should know byte is the smallest unit, which is having 8 bits, and then short, int, long, float, double has the highest kind of bit width. Perfect. All right. And if you notice, so this is increasing in this way, 2 to the power 3, 4, 5, right, 2 to the power 6, 7, and finally 2 to the power 8. So this is kind of the increasing pattern of this one. All right, let's talk about the question number 2. What are the variables? How are the variables declared in Kotlin, and what are the different types of variable in Kotlin? All right, so it should be on your tips. If you are, let's say, going for mobile application developer role or any role, and let's say that team is heavily using Kotlin as their programming language, then you must know, in Kotlin you use these two keywords, var and val, to create variables. Okay, to every variable in Kotlin must be declared before it can be used. It is obviously the thumb rule. Yes, an attempt to use a variable without declaring will obviously result in a syntax error. So the type of data you are authorized to put in the memory address is determined by the variable type declaration, okay? And the type of variable can obviously be determined by the initial value, as in these cases by the initial value that is given to the variables. Perfect. For an example, let's say if I am writing here where site is equal to talent500, right? So here obviously it's understood that site variable, this is of type string, this is of type string. Perfect. And in the same way, I mean, I can show you in the IDE as well how do we do these things. Let me tell you the differences as well about var and val. So what happens is val is used, this is both are keywords. This is used for immutable variables, for creating immutable variables. Now you will ask me, what is immutable? Immutable means the value of those variable cannot be changed, which are declared using val. If I say val name is equal to talent500, yeah. So in this case, because I am using the val keyword, so what will happen is I won't be able to change the value of this variable name because I use the val keyword. Perfect. So immutable variables are also known as read-only variables. They are declared using the val keyword, and once these variables have been declared, we cannot change their value. Okay. All right. And let's say if I want to later on in my code, if I want to do something like name is equal to, maybe I want to change it to my name Soumya, so it will throw an error. Why error? Because val keyword is used to declare such variables whose value cannot be changed, and I'm trying to change it, so it will throw error that this program is not right, it will not compile, it will not work properly. So val is always, remember, for immutable variables. Now in case you want to make some variables whose value can be changed, for an example, if you want to create name variable and later on in the program you want to change its value, for that you will use the keyword var. Okay, var name is equal to this, and later on you can change it. Later in the program you can change the value as well. So in a mutable variable, the value of the variable can be changed, and we use the keyword var to declare such variables. Perfect. Awesome. Let me quickly show you as well how these things work actually, so that it's like 100% clear to you. All right. So here is the syntax. Let's say you want to create immutable variable. So val name is equal to talent500, and you can see, I mean, I didn't explicitly told it that name should be of type string, but it will automatically understand this, right? I can also do something like this, that hey, name, you will be of type string, right? And now just in case if I want to change it, let's say I want to change it to my name, so here it is throwing error. It is saying val cannot be reassigned, change it to var. Now if I change it to var, obviously I can change the value as well, because that is mutable, right? Mutable means I can change the value. Perfect. And now again coming back to the iPad, so I hope this much part is crisp and clear. Now let's talk about what is the difference between the variable declaration with val and const. So let me tell you, both the variables, I mean both these keywords, if any variable is declared using these two keywords, then they are immutable in nature. They are immutable, that is their value cannot be changed. So what is the difference? So listen to the difference very carefully. The difference is, but the value of the const variable must be known at the compile time, whereas the value of the val variable can be assigned at runtime also. Okay, at runtime also. So this is the difference in the case of const and val. For const, if you are creating some variable with const keyword, so the value must be known at the compile time. Okay, and in case of val keyword, both are immutable. Obviously this is very obvious and common thing, but the difference is, in case of const, the value must be known at the compile time, whereas in case of val, the value can be assigned at runtime also. Alright, now let's talk about why should anyone use Kotlin. So Kotlin is a programming language that is compatible with Java and other languages as well. One of its primary feature is productive programming. Productive programming. It provides many ways to reuse code between multiple platforms, and Kotlin's clean language design and powerful feature offer an accessible user experience as well. So let me tell you the main features of it. These are the prominent reasons why one should use Kotlin. I mean, based on your experience, you can talk about your experiences around working on mobile applications as well. You can give example of many of the companies, startups, or open source project as well. For an example, anitaB.org or many of the open source organizations, Mifos, etc. So many of these startups, open source companies, what they are doing, they are kind of moving their complete project from Java to Kotlin. You can read blogs, articles about all these things. I mean, which startups, companies are migrating to which language. It's significant to stay up to date, right? Especially if you are going to give interview for Kotlin, you should know, you must know that which companies are using Kotlin and why are they shifting to Kotlin. You can talk about those experiences that will show the interviewer that okay, your GK, your general knowledge, all those things are up to the mark, right? So the number one reason is obviously this programming language is very concise. It provides the null safety thing as well. This is one of the major advantage of using Kotlin, null safety. In case of Java, this was a kind of big issue for developers. If you, let's say, access any null variable, then you will get the null pointer exception. I mean, your application will crash at that point where you will try to access a null value, right? So Kotlin provides null safety, which is kind of very useful feature for the developers. Very useful, right? It help us overcome the null pointer exception issue which we used to face as Java developers. And third feature, interoperable. Okay, so let me tell you, you can, if let's say generally if you'll go for this interview of, let's say, Kotlin developer or Android application developer, since Kotlin is the official language, it is official language for Android app development. So if you are developing Android application, you must obviously know Kotlin. And there you can talk about these stories which I talked about, like companies are switching because of these reasons. I mean, if you compare Java and Kotlin together for developers, I mean, there is a huge difference between both of these. Though like syntax wise, obviously complex is Java and Kotlin is very simple. It's very simple, very easy to understand. Let's say if you are writing some code in Java in these space, and I mean you are using this much lines of code, in Kotlin you can do the same in just these many lines of code, right? So if we talk about simplicity, Kotlin is very simple. It is very easy to understand as well. For beginners, it is very easy to learn as well, to grasp the concept. I mean, syntax is kind of self-explanatory. In Java, we write too much of unnecessary code, to be honest, right? And Kotlin provide many extra features as well. And the way both of these languages are interconnected is really very beautiful to see. In Android Studio as well, you will see multiple options. I mean, you can convert your Java code into Kotlin or vice versa. And there are so many plugins as well. Let's say you are writing your code on VS Code or something. So you can use the feature to convert your Java code into Kotlin, etc. Right? Perfect. Now I think you know enough of Kotlin. You can in your interview tell about these features which I talked about. You can share your experience working in Java versus working in Kotlin, or working in any other language versus Kotlin, and how you felt it good. I mean, when you share your experiences in interviews, no, so that leaves a very good impact on the interviewer as well, right? So let's move up ahead and talk about the next question, which is how to ensure null safety in Kotlin. Now, as I said, one of the major advantages of using Kotlin is null safety only. In Java, if you access some null variable, then you will get the null pointer exception, right? But in this case, Kotlin provides you the null safety feature. So let's say if I'll show you I'll write a piece of code, and that will help you understand things better. Let's say I am creating a variable name. This is of type string, okay, and the value here is Talent500. Okay, perfect. Now, just in case if I try to assign it value null, so it will throw error. Like, this is Kotlin, but it will throw error. Why? Because at this point I'm not using the power of Kotlin. If I will add one question mark here, so what will happen? I am kind of using the null safety feature of Kotlin, and this will now allow me to assign null value to this variable. Now it will not throw error. Okay, perfect. And I can later use this to get maybe length, name. Now like simply, let's say if I have to call some method, let's say I have to call the method which is by the name length, right? Length is, let's say, default, and what, let's say, it is actually very method, inbuilt method, right? So if I do name.length, so it is general way of calling method. If let's say I want to make it null safe, just in case name can be null as well, right, as I'm doing here, so I'll put just a question mark, and it will do everything for me. It will save me from the null pointer exception error. Let me show you in the editor as well. So this is my Android Studio, right? Let me write the Kotlin piece of code here, and that will help you understand things better. So yes, let's use this only. So here I created one name variable of type string, and later I am giving it another value. So if I do it null, so you will see it is throwing error. Null cannot be a value of non-null type string. The string is right now non-null. If I add one question mark here, so now it's not throwing error because I'm using the null safety feature of Kotlin. Okay, and that is the power of Kotlin. Developers literally love this feature. Now let's say you want to do name.length or something, so here they are suggesting me only safe calls are allowed on nullable receiver of type string. Now they know that okay, the value is null somewhere, right? So they want me to do a safe call. So what this will do, even if the value of name is null, it will not make my app crash. It will save me. It will save the developer's day, right? It will help me from getting complaints from my user, from my customers. Okay, so null safety, this is called null safety. This way I am declaring null safe variables, right? If I remove it, I am getting error that you cannot, null cannot be a value of non-null type variable. So if I put question mark, again it's all good, right? Now let's come back to the iPad and hop on to the next question. I hope this much part is clear. Null safety. If there is any doubt, you can put in the comment, obviously. And moving ahead, what are the data classes in Kotlin, and explain with a proper example. So let me tell you, Data classes are those classes which are made just to store some data, just to store some data. In Kotlin, it is marked with the keyword data. Let's say if I'm creating class and class name is, for example, developer. We are developers, right? And here we can give the name and details of the developer. So where name of type string, and then where age of the developer, this will be of type int, something like this. So this is class is keyword here. I want a data class, so I will put the keyword here data. That's it. That's all you have to do. So you will ask me what is the use of using this data keyword. So when we mark a class as a data class, so you don't have to implement or create the functions as we do in Java. Like you don't have to create functions equals or copy to string or hash code. So you don't need to create these functions. The compiler will automatically create all these internally, and let's say you have to use any of these, you can directly use it directly. Yes, you don't need to create this manually. And yes, it helps in writing clean code. Obviously, these are the ways how Kotlin ensures that the developers are writing clean code, right? They are writing clean code. So let me explain this to you with the help of editor as well. So this is the piece of code that we have written till now. Let's say I want to create a data class. So just notice the cursor of my mouse. I'm going here, I'm clicking on right, I'm creating a new Kotlin class basically, and you can see here I'm getting multiple options. So I will go ahead with the data class option and I'll give the name developer. I want a developer data class to be created. So you can see data keyword is here, class is also keyword, developer is the name of my data class. Okay, I can change it as well. Now here what I have to do, I have to give some values. So where name of the developer, and then where age of the developer. I can ask more details about the developer, like we can create array as well, and we can store the languages that the developer know of, right? And I mean, we can store as much data as we want. We can have gender variable as well, where we'll get the gender details of the developer. I mean, if the developer is female, male, or otherwise, right? So this is the way you create a data class in Kotlin. Data keyword, class keyword obviously will be there if you are dealing with classes, and then name of the class. And now just inside these parentheses you have to give the parameter details, and you already know how to give the parameter details, where val the keywords, then the variable name, and then the type, right? Sometimes what happens is these things are so obvious, but we often like either forget these things, we don't remember. I mean, like let's say if you're going to write code after long period of gap or something, it happens that you forget things, kind of go skip from your mind, right? Perfect. Now I am coming back to iPad. I hope the data class part is clear. This is very important. And again, as I mentioned, you won't need to implement any of those functions, any of these functions manually. Kotlin will take care of all these things for you. So moving ahead, what is late init in Kotlin? So late init is very significant, I would say, keyword. Let me explain you this in the Android Studio itself. Okay, so this is my main activity, right? Let's say I want to create a variable, but I want to give it some value in later half of my project, or maybe by the end. I mean, for now I just don't know the value. So if you simply do it this way, pencil count, let's say the variable name is pencil count and the type is int. So here you will see they are expecting something from me. Property must be initialized. They are saying you should initialize the property. I mean, you should give some value to it, but I, let's say, want to give it value after some confirmation from the user or any such thing, right? So in that case, what I will do is, I want to give it value but later. So I will use the late init keyword. So the word here is kind of self-explanatory, right? So what it is saying, I mean, it is giving me instruction that you can kind of give some value to your variable later as well. I mean, that's completely fine. For now you can just create it, declare it, and if you want to give it value later, then you can use the keyword late. Late means late, that is later on, and init means initialize, that is I will initialize it later. Okay, so the property, it is saying something. The property must either have a type annotation or must be initialized or be delegated. So initially what I was doing, I was giving it the int type. So it is saying that late init, this modifier is not allowed on primitive types. Int is primitive, right? Primitive data type. So what I can do is, let's not go with the auto suggestion. Here it is not late init cannot be used with the primitive types, but if I make it let's say string type and any other, so late init will work completely fine. So if there is a variable and you want to give it some value later on, so you can use the late init type. Okay, now I can initialize it later. Here pencil count is equal to, maybe I have taken input from user, and then I can give some value. I mean, whatever you want to give, 8, 9, 7, any value you can assign. If I will remove the late init keyword, you will see it is not able to, I mean, stay here. You cannot declare something outside the function scope just simply. It is saying that property must be initialized or must be abstract, and it is itself giving the suggestion that you can add the late init keyword. So if anyone asks you that what is late init, so the word is self-explanatory. Late means later on, init means initialize. So with the help of this keyword, I get the power to initialize any variable later on in my code, right? Later on in my code. That is the use of the late init keyword. And most of the keywords, such things are very, very self-explanatory, right? You can just break it down in two parts. Late means later on, init means initialize. So with the help of this keyword, you get the capability, you get the power to initialize the variable later on in your project. Perfect. I hope you won't forget this keyword in future if anyone asks you in the interview or anything. Now let's talk about Elvis operator. Elvis operator is a very, very basic thing, and in Kotlin you can assign null value to a variable by using null safety. We just saw it, right? Using null safety thing, we can even give null value to any variable, right? So to check if a value is having null value or not, you can either use like maybe if else, or otherwise you can use this Elvis operator. You can use the Elvis operator. So it is something like this. I mean, you can directly tell the interviewer the syntax of Elvis. That is like this, very much like ternary operator or something. If you have like done coding in any other language, so it very much looks like ternary operator. But how exactly it works is, So the else operator in action is this way. This is val, the keyword, you already know about it now. This is the name of the variable, result, the name, and what it is doing here. If value 1 is not null, so result will get the value 1. Okay, if value 1 is not null, so result is assigned the value of value 1. And just in case if value 1 is null, so result will be assigned the value of value 2. So what we are doing here, we are checking that, hey, value 1, are you null? So if this is null, it is doing question mark, hey, are you null? If this is null, so result will get the value 2. Okay, and just in case if this is not true, if like value 1 is not null, so result will get the value 1. It's as simple as it looks. It is just to kind of like null safety is there, we know. So if you want to maybe use or check if it's null or not, you can use else operator, which is the syntax of else is this is your else operator in Kotlin. Okay, else operator in Kotlin, this is the syntax of else operator, which is used to kind of check if if the value is null or not, and accordingly you can take action, right? And you can do the same thing using if else as well. I mean, both things work very much in the similar way. So I hope this null like else operator part is also clear, and late in it we already discussed. So these were the questions, important interview questions for this part. This is part 1. Similarly, we'll keep on deeping dive into the significant questions in the coming parts as well. I hope this detailed tutorial was helpful for you in understanding the significant concepts of Kotlin. If yes, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Talent500 YouTube channel for more such insightful content. If you have any queries, any doubts, drop them in the comment section below and we will be happy to answer them.